He built a $70 million empire on one message, preached it for 30 years, made millions believe it. Then in 2022, he stood in front of his church and said three words that destroyed everything. I was wrong. This is the unraveling of Pastor Creflo Dollar. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button because this story gets absolutely wild. January 1986. A small cafeteria in College Park, Georgia. 8 people showed up. That's where it all started. Creflo Dollar wasn't born into wealth. His dad was a cop. His mom served food in that exact same cafeteria where he'd later preach his first sermon. He wanted to be a football star. One injury ended that dream, but it started something much bigger. By 1991, those 8 people became thousands. By 1995, he opened an 8,500-seat megachurch called the World Dome. Cost? Nearly $20 million. Built, he claimed, without a single bank loan. His message was simple and irresistible: give to God, and God will make you rich. Tithing wasn't optional. It was the key. 10% of your income unlocked financial miracles, breakthrough, abundance, divine favor. People believed him desperately. By the mid-2000s, his church had 30,000 members and brought in $70 million a year. His TV show, Changing Your World, reached millions across Africa, Canada, India, the UK. He wasn't just a pastor anymore. He was a global brand. But here's where things get dark. While his followers lived on an average income of $29,000 a year, Creflo Dollar owned a $3.4 million mansion in Georgia. 182 acres, private gates, stone walls, Olympic-sized pool, a $2.5 million condo in New York's Time Warner Center. Sold it later for $3.75 million. That's a cool $1 million profit. Another $2 million home in New Jersey. Multiple Rolls Royces, one worth $460,000. And then there were the private jets. He flew a Gulfstream G3. When it broke down over the Pacific Ocean, he didn't switch to commercial flights. No, he decided he needed an upgrade. In 2015, Dollar launched Project G650. His goal? Raise $65 million for a brand new Gulfstream G650, one of the most expensive private jets in the world. He asked 200,000 people to donate $300 each. The internet exploded. Critics tore him apart. Even gospel artist Kirk Franklin called him out, saying material wealth doesn't equal faith. It shows a shortage of character. Aviation experts pointed out his claims didn't even make sense. He said the jet would carry 100,000 pounds of food for humanitarian work. The actual baggage capacity? Around 2,500 pounds. He was caught in a lie, but here's the wildest part. When the backlash hit, Dollar didn't apologize. He doubled down. In front of his cheering congregation, he said, "If I want to believe God for a $65 million plane, you cannot stop me. I'm going to dream until Jesus comes." The crowd applauded. Outside, the world watched in disbelief. Watchdog groups gave his ministry an F rating for financial transparency. The U.S. Senate investigated him. He refused to hand over documents. No charges were filed, but the damage was done. Stick around because the next part gets even crazier. June 2012, Fayette County, Georgia. Police showed up at Creflo Dollar's mansion. His 15-year-old daughter had called 911. She claimed he choked her, punched her, and hit her with a shoe during an argument about going to a party. Officers saw a scratch on her neck. She said it came from the fight. Dollar said it was eczema. He admitted wrestling her to the ground but denied choking or hitting her. He was arrested, charged with simple battery and cruelty to children. Days later, he stood before his church. The congregation gave him a standing ovation. To his supporters, he was being persecuted. To critics, he was being protected by blind loyalty. The charges were dropped after he completed anger management classes, but the cracks in his image were now impossible to ignore. And then came the moment that changed everything. June 2022, 36 years after his first sermon, Creflo Dollar walked onto the stage of World Changers Church and delivered a message called The Great Misunderstanding. He told his congregation to throw away every book, every DVD, every sermon he'd ever made about tithing, because it was all wrong. Tithing, he said, belonged to the Old Testament. Christians were never supposed to give out of fear or obligation. The very foundation of his empire, the doctrine that made him millions, was a mistake. Let me repeat that. The man who built a $70 million ministry by telling people they had to give 10% to unlock God's blessings just admitted he was wrong the entire time. But here's what he didn't do. He didn't apologize. He didn't offer refunds. He didn't explain how he'd spend decades collecting money under a teaching he now rejected. His luxury homes? Still there. The private jets? Still flying. The Rolls Royces? Still parked in his driveway. For some, it was a courageous act of honesty. For others, it was the ultimate betrayal. Think about the people who gave their last dollars believing it would unlock miracles. Single mothers stretching their budgets. Families skipping meals to meet that 10% requirement. Students giving money they needed for tuition. They did it because Pastor Dollar promised them that God would multiply it back. That prosperity was just one faithful tithe away. And now, decades later, he admits the entire foundation was wrong. No refunds, no apologies, no accountability. Just a casual sermon telling people to throw away his old teachings like yesterday's trash. The story gets even deeper when you look at the pattern. For years, ministry watchdogs had been sounding the alarm. Ministry Watch gave his organization an F rating repeatedly. They couldn't get basic financial statements. No transparency, no audits, no accountability. Between 2007 and 2011, the U.S. Senate Finance Committee investigated 6 televangelists, and Dollar was on that list. They wanted to know if ministry funds were being used for personal gain. Dollar refused to cooperate. He claimed the government had no authority to examine church records. Technically, he was right. Legally, churches have protections. But ethically, that's a different question. Here's what makes this so devastating. Dollar didn't just preach prosperity. He weaponized guilt. He told people that not tithing was robbing God, that holding back that 10% would bring curses on their finances. Fear became the tool, and it worked. For 30 years, people gave sacrificially while watching their pastor accumulate wealth they could never imagine. The disconnect was staggering. Average members earning $29,000 a year funding a lifestyle worth millions. And the whole time, Dollar claimed it was proof the system worked. His wealth was evidence that the prosperity gospel delivered results. But when you strip away the theology, what you're left with is a business model. Convince people that giving money unlocks divine favor. Build a massive operation funded by those contributions. Live lavishly while claiming it's God's blessing. Refuse transparency when questioned. And if the foundation ever cracks, simply pivot to a new message without addressing the damage done. That's not ministry. That's manipulation with a religious veneer. Don't miss what happens next because this is where it gets truly shocking. After his 2022 confession, you'd expect some kind of reckoning. Maybe reduced donations. Maybe people leaving the church. Maybe demands for financial accountability. But here's the truth. World Changers Church is still operating. Dollar is still preaching. The ministry still has followers. Because for many believers, the emotional investment is too deep to walk away. They've built their entire spiritual identity around this man and his message. Admitting he was wrong means admitting they were deceived. And that's a pill too bitter to swallow. The psychology behind this is fascinating and tragic. It's called the sunk cost fallacy. People have given so much time, money, faith, that abandoning it feels like admitting it was all wasted. So instead, they double down. They rationalize. They defend. They applaud when he confesses error instead of demanding he make it right. This is how empires survive even after the emperor admits he has no clothes. So where does that leave Creflo Dollar today? His ministry still operates. He still preaches. He still has followers who believe in him. But the man who once seemed untouchable now carries a legacy stained by scandal, wealth, and a confession that came decades too late. He built an empire on a message he now admits was wrong. And the people who sacrificed their hard-earned money, believing it would unlock miracles, are left wondering if any of it was ever real. So here's my question for you. Should pastors like Creflo Dollar be held accountable for the teachings they profit from and later reject? Or is this just part of spiritual growth? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this story shocked you, smash that like button and subscribe because we're covering more untold stories just like this. The truth always comes out. Sometimes it just takes 30 years.